participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town's website. For this meeting, members of the public and committee members may attend the meeting in person, or for those wishing to do so, may do so remotely. For those who are not in person, every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. Pursuant to MGL 7C 30A, Section 20F, to notify the chair of the public body, any person may make a video or audio recording of an open session of a meeting of a public body, may transmit the meeting through any medium. Beginning of the meeting, the chair shall inform other attendees of any such recordings. This meeting is being recorded by the Berkshire Edge, Berkshire Eagle, and the town of Great Barrington, and may be recorded by other members of the public. Any member of the public wishing to speak at the meeting must receive permission of the chair. The listing of agenda items, those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. Because I'm unfortunately participating remotely tonight, we'll start all votes are roll call, and we'll start with a roll call of attendance. Garfield Reed.
Here.
Eric Gabriel.
Here.
Ed Abrams.
Here.
Lee Davis.
Here.
And Steve Bannon present. Select Board's announcement and statements. Garfield?
Nothing, thank you.
Eric?
Nothing, thank you.
Ed?
Nothing.
Lee?
Nothing for me.
And I have nothing, so we'll turn it over to the town manager's report.
Thanks, Steve. I just have a few updates for this evening. First off, the Housatonic Waterworks. We'll be meeting in executive session with our attorney at our next board meeting, so April 10th, and we'll just add that to the tail end of the agenda. So nothing additional to add to your calendars. We'll just tack it on to an existing meeting. Earth Day roadside cleanup event. I just wanted to announce publicly tonight that the Public Works Department and the Board of Health will be hosting a townwide Earth Day cleanup event, an organized event on Earth Day. Yellow bags will be available in town buildings. They're being distributed now. And there's a sign-up sheet available that will be posted on our website. So you can select your road and see where other cleanups are happening throughout the town. And then the following Monday, our DPW crew will be out and about scooping up those bags along the side of the road. They're bright yellow bags, so we'll have those available shortly. And my last topic for the night is the Monument Mountain Regional High School entrance and exit work. You've probably already seen this covered by local media, but for anyone that missed it, the intersection conflict warning system that DOT agreed to install at the entrance and exit to the high school is being installed today. The work started today, and it will take 3 to 4 days. That's all I have.
Thank you very much, Mark. Licenses and permits. The annual renewal of Wyandotte Country Club seasonal all alcoholic liquor license for 2023. Is there anyone here from Wyandotte? We may not need them, but just in case.
Don't see Jenny in the...
Okay, I'm not too worried about it unless we have questions, and we'll worry about that then. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the annual renewal of the Wyandotte Country Club seasonal all alcoholic liquor license for 2023.
Second.
Any discussion? Any questions, comments? Roll call vote. Garfield?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
And aye, it's unanimous. Berkshire Busk Railroad Street road closure request for 2023 summer session. Mark?
Okay, thanks, Steve. I'm going to promote and colleague from Berkshire Busk, but I just wanted to start by saying that I think the agenda wording for this evening is a little misleading, so I want to apologize. This board, as you know, has closed Railroad Street for outdoor dining for the past 3 years since the beginning of COVID. So at some point tonight, we need to discuss the length of the season and the time of the closure on Friday and Saturday nights. But Berkshire Busk is here to talk about the entertainment portion of that road closure. So go ahead and, oh, looks like Carly's already promoted.
Yeah, I promoted Carly.
Are we waiting for Gene to be promoted as well?
Yeah, he's here. Just takes a second. There we go.
Hi, everybody. Carly, are you on? Yeah.
I'm here.
So I'll just say that, as you know, we are going to put on Berkshire Busk again. This will be our third season. Last year, we had a significant increase in the attendance and the popularity of the event. We tried some things that worked. We tried some things that didn't work. And we're aiming this year to refine what we did and improve upon it. To wit, we're going to run our festival from the essentially July 4th weekend. We'll again be on Friday nights and Saturday nights, running from 6:30 until essentially 9:30 or 10, depending on Railroad Street, and 6:30 to 8:30 on other locations downtown. We will go from the July 4th weekend through the Labor Day weekend. So that's 10 weekends. And essentially the festival will continue as we did last year. We tried an experiment which worked extremely well last year, where we turned Railroad Street into kind of a town square by inviting people to set up vendor booths on Saturday nights. We had a terrific response, anywhere from 10 to almost 20 vendor booths. We put up some blow up arches to create kind of mini stages. And that attracted made a real festival feeling on the street. So we're going to continue that. We're going to improve, if we can, our management of the bands. As Mark will discuss in a minute, we need a little bit of extra time for setup. Last year, we didn't realize, I misunderstood or miscalculated how much time we would need to actually get 10 or 15 vendor booths set up on a Saturday night, plus the bands and the outdoor stages. So we need a little bit more. But other than that, the festival will continue, and we're delighted to do that. Carly, did I miss anything?
Nope, I just want to add that we're continuing a lot of the partnerships that have sustained us through the past couple of years, and we're excited to be announcing a couple new partnerships with some different organizations sometime very soon.
And some of that, the last thing I'll say is that you'll be pleased to know that we have probably at this point 25 different sponsors, both foundations, but primarily businesses in the area. So we're very pleased that the fundraising effort this year has gone very well. So thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Gene. So Mark, you'd like a motion from us to endorse Berkshire Busk for this year?
That's correct. And then we can, I guess, shift our focus to talk about the timing of the closure, on Friday and Saturday evenings. It sounds like Berkshire Busk is looking for closures from July 4th through Labor Day weekend. And then we just need to talk about timing each evening.
So do I have a motion to endorse continuation of Berkshire Busk from July 4th through Labor Day from 6:30 to 10 p.m.?
So moved.
The second, you mean July 4th weekend, correct?
Yes.
July 4th weekend, sorry. Yes, that's correct. Any discussion? Roll call vote. Garfield?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
And aye, it's unanimous. Mark, you want to take the second part of this now?
Yeah, so once again, I think this will be our third or fourth season now closing Railroad Street in the evenings. And we've tried everything. I think we tried 4 o'clock the first year, we tried 5 o'clock, we tried 6 o'clock last year. 6 o'clock was clearly too late. Anyone that spent some time on Railroad Street just before the start of Berkshire Busk and outdoor dining could tell that when you have to remove a vehicle and there's only one tow truck doing that, or several vehicles, it can take some time. So I would recommend that you consider an earlier time so that we have
What's the request, Gene, for the time?
they don't start until 6:30.
No, but as far as closing the street.
Yeah, so I will say from our point of view, from the Berkshire Busk point of view, we are okay with 5:30, which is a half an hour earlier. I'm sure that there are going to be some restaurants that are on this call that would ask for it to be earlier than that. But from our point of view, 5:30 is the time that will work for us.
Okay, so there is a hand up, so I'll recognize Jeff Neal.
Hey, Jeff. He has to unmute.
Hello, everybody. Sorry, I didn't make it into the meeting in person tonight. My apologies for that.
No problem.
By way of introduction, I'm one of the owners of the Elm Restaurant at 20 Railroad Street. First of all, just want to give kudos to Gene for all the hard work that he's done, and Carly as well for the Berkshire Busk. We see it as a real draw in town. And I have to say, as a business owner in town, it is absolutely remarkable the number of people who come to dine around Railroad Street, specifically to hear the busk. And if anything, as a restaurant owner, we have a challenge in accommodating all of the people who want to sit outside. That's been a bit of an issue for us. So, you know, I cannot endorse the busk highly enough. In terms of timing, obviously we would push for as early as possible. I guess as a you know, our position would be 5 to 5:30 would be ideal, as most people really come to sit around 5:30, 6 o'clock to listen to the music. I guess my observation, and this is an observation sitting on the street, it's not as if the shops are mobbed at 5 o'clock, and you know, we certainly want to work with our neighbors, but I would ask the board that the earliest we can get in there, the earliest reasonable time we can get in there, would be much appreciated. And I think I speak on behalf of all the restaurant owners on the street.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
So what's the pleasure of the board?
I have a problem with 5.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, I'd be comfortable with Gene's 5:30, knowing that there's some, you know, places that are concerned about closing too early. So I think that seems to be a good compromise.
I would like 5:30.
By the way, I did ask, and I know they did follow up the chamber to share this with their community as well, just to let everyone know that we're having this discussion tonight. So
There's someone who wants to speak.
Yeah, hi, I'm Paula Friedman from Bernay Fine Art. I did get the notice through Betsy a little bit late, and so I tried to pass it around to as many people as possible. Saturday is a key day for us on the street for the retail market, and I don't know, for us in the gallery, late in the afternoon is important. People do come to town to do things and shop before they might go to the Haywee or go out to dinner. So
please use the Sonos app.
I think that last year at 6 o'clock, you know, they ended up shutting the street down or making the cars move even earlier than 6 o'clock so that they could get, if there was a car there that needed to be towed. I don't know what the exact timing was last year, but last year was even tough because they essentially told the people that are parking on the street, you need to move your car, it's going to be towed. So I would say from my perspective that earlier than 6 o'clock is a problem for the retail business. So, I mean, I know you're saying 5:30, but I mean, 5 o'clock would be almost impossible. They would be trying to get people to not park their cars on the street, you know, at 4 or 4:30. And that's, you know, we're open until 5 or 6 at night. I know Connie's not here, but I had a discussion with her yesterday. I mean, most of us are open until 6 o'clock in the summer. So it's really difficult for us if, you know, if it's shut down that much earlier.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Gene, go right ahead.
Yeah, so I just want to address the issue that Paula brought up. What we observed last year is that almost nobody, without comment, without talking to people as they park their car, nobody leaves their car there all night. What happens is that people don't pay attention. Last year, the no parking started at 6. They just don't pay attention. They come at 6:10, they come at 6:20, they come at 6:25. So the reason that we're asking for the earlier road closure is so that we don't have to talk to people in their cars and make a big deal of it. We know that if we say 5:30, by about 5:45, on their own, cars are going to essentially dissipate. So this is an interesting compromise because it alleviates the concern that Paula brings up about sort of talking to people and creating an environment on the street that's perhaps not as welcoming. We don't have to do that by just shifting the thing back by half an hour, knowing full well that there's lots of other parking spots in town, and most of the people are going to move their cars. If it says 5:30, they're going to leave. So I just wanted to clarify that behavior that we tried last year, because we had such a short amount of time, we won't be needing to do that anymore.
Thank you, Gene. Do I have a motion from the board? Unless there's someone else at the podium and I don't see any.
There's a hand up.
We do have another hand up.
Okay, it wasn't up a minute. Go ahead, Mark.
Good evening, everybody.
Name and address, please.
Michael Marcus, Bizen Restaurant, 17 Railroad Street.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, guys. And appreciate this opportunity to communicate with everybody. This is our one shot to explain our reality as a restaurant on Railroad Street. We tried mid-season last year to communicate the disastrous experience we were having on the street trying to set up a restaurant. And I'm speaking for everybody, we all open at 5 o'clock. So people are dining at the restaurant. Everything is going full blast at 5 o'clock. It's almost impossible then to get everybody out there to set up another restaurant on the street. Even though everything is staged, everything is ready to go, there's a mad dash and hysteria trying to get the restaurant set up. And
we have people.
When we look at the street and we look at all the businesses, if for 1 second I felt that I was impeding somebody's ability to do business, I would not be speaking to you right now. We want everybody to have a fair chance. This is a great opportunity, as we all know, for our town and for the businesses on Railroad Street. So this is my one opportunity to appeal to basically common sense of the restaurants on the street who have to set up another complete restaurant on Railroad Street. 5 o'clock would be our best compromise so that we can do a good job and set up another restaurant on the street, on the sidewalk. 5:30 is late because people are already lining up to eat. And I think 5 o'clock would be a good compromise between the 4 o'clock a few years ago and the 6 o'clock. That was a disaster last year. I believe that if we can all agree on 5 o'clock, it would be the best compromise for everybody involved. And thank you very much.
Thanks, Michael. Anyone else?
Steve, there are some other hands up and no one at the podium, so I'm just going to keep.
Okay, promote Matthew and
Matthew, your mic is open.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Perfect. My name is Matthew Meandro. I'm the owner of Shire Glass along with my fiance, Maggie Bona, at 87 Railroad Street around the corner. And I just wanted to follow up what Michael had said. We had a little bit of a different experience last year as far as the restaurants interfering with our late day business. The 5 to 6 o'clock is certainly a busy time for us, and to shut down the street earlier at 5 o'clock, like other retailers, I believe, have voiced would be what I would describe as exceedingly prohibitive. And again, last year, it was kind of unfortunate. Some of the restaurants kind of took the liberty to start setting up whenever they liked. I believe I raised that issue with the bus representatives last year, and those said restaurateurs just kind of proceeded as they willed, without really any concern for anybody else in the downtown area. And I just want to make sure that was taken into account this year, and also that we really do remember that this is extra business for the restaurants, not just merely their baseline. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeff Neal, you've spoken once, so if you want to speak very briefly, go right ahead.
Yeah, very briefly. Aside from, again, an observation, aside from just a self-interest as a restaurant owner, I would say that, having the tables out on the street, having the bus setting up actually draws more people into the Railroad Street corridor than really any other time of day. I would just note that. I think actually it's a good draw for everybody.
Thank you. Anyone else?
There's no one at the podium, Steve.
Okay. What's the board's pleasure? Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to close Railroad Street for the Berkshire bus at 5:30 p.m.
Second.
Do I have discussion?
Yeah, I'd just like to say, I think in this situation, I do respect everyone's position. But I think this is something I think we need to listen to the few folks that it's problematic for, because it's important. It's only a few, but this isn't a situation to me where the majority rules in a situation like this.
Anyone else? Roll call vote. Garfield?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
And aye, it's unanimous. Thank you very much, Jean, Carly. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lauren Clark, Library Board of Trustees, requesting a one-day liquor license for an event on Wednesday, April 19th, 2023, from 4 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. at the Mason Library, 231 Main Street, Great Barrington. I assume someone's here.
Don't see Lauren or Patrick on the line.
Lauren was going to be. If you're there, Lauren, raise your hand.
I don't see.
I can answer questions if anyone has them.
Well, we want to know what the event is. So
yeah, it's a press conference. The trustees and the committee doing the Du Bois statue are doing.
Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to grant a one-day liquor license to Lauren Clark of the Library Board of Trustees for the event on Wednesday, April 19th, 2023, from 4 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. at the Mason Library.
Sorry, can I ask you to amend that motion? I believe this has
the time
due to timing. It hasn't been approved by the trustees, so if you could just make a condition for the trustees.
Yeah, and also the timing is 6 p.m. to 8. The library closes at 6. And also I should say, I will probably be the bartender, though it's uncompensated and well, not recusing.
So Lee, with all that advice, do you want to just restate your motion?
Sure, I'm going to restate it and add it's on the condition of
trustees approval.
The trustees approval, and to amend the time to begin at from 6:30 to 8 p.m.
6 to 8.
6 to 8 p.m.
Second.
Do I have a second? Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Discussion. Hearing none. Roll call. Garfield.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
Ed.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
And aye, it's unanimous. Thank you very much. Dennis Lodici, Market Manager for the Great Barrington Farmers Market, and Kristen Cantor and Molly D. St. Andre for the Great Barrington Arts Market, requesting the closure of Church Street to through traffic from Main Street to School Street on Saturdays beginning May 6th through November 11th, beginning with a setup at 7 a.m. and ending at 3 p.m. with cleanup. Is there anyone here?
Dennis Iadice, Great Barrington Farmers Market.
Great. Dennis, is there any changes from last year, time or anything?
No.
Is there anything you want to say, or Christian?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. We just appreciate the town's continued support of the arts market and the farmers market.
Do I have a
Same.
motion? Yes.
Sorry, same from the farmer's market.
Thank you, Dennis. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the closure of Church Street to through traffic from Main Street to School Street on Saturdays beginning May 6th through November 11th, beginning with setup at 7 a.m. and ending at 3 p.m. for cleanup. To Dennis, the market manager of the Great Barrington Farmers Market, and Christine and Molly of the Great Barrington Arts Market.
Second.
Any discussion, questions? Seeing none, roll call vote. Garfield?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
And aye, it's unanimous. Good luck this year.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next four are all Berkshire International Film Festival. We'll do them one at a time, but if either Lauren or Kelly or representative is here, we'll get an overview and then we'll do these one at a time.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, you can hear me. Yes, this is Lauren Farron from the Berkshire National Film Festival, not Kelly. And I just want to thank you first and foremost for the support that Great Barrington has given the film festival. We're celebrating 17 years this year. And we've got a laundry list of requests that you've always been so generous and we appreciate that. I think with the 4,000 plus people that we draw to, you know, what can be most season and not too much business, I think it's beneficial for the town restaurants, retail, and everybody involved. So I guess if Steve, if you want to start with the first request about the day liquor licenses.
Yeah, and we'll go through one at a time, and if people have questions, you stay at the podium, and if people have questions, you can field them. So the first one is 2 one-day liquor licenses for June 1st and June 3rd from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. for events at the park behind Town Hall, 334 Main Street. Let's start with a motion.
I make a motion to approve 2 one-day liquor license for June 1st and June 3rd from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. for events at the park behind Town Hall at 334 Main Street to Kelly Vickery and Lauren Friend of Berkshire International Film Festival.
Second.
Any questions on this one?
I have a question, yes.
Go ahead.
I'm very unfamiliar with the International Film Festival, at least as far as the physical goings-ons. How is that monitored, if you will? Is it because there's alcohol there?
So we got permission from the parks to put the tent behind Town Hall, which we have been doing for many years. And we have both Brian Olberg as caterer from Greylock Works, used to be the head of the Red Lining catering business. One of the requirements when we apply for the liquor license is that we present tip certifications for all the bartenders. It's only a 2.5 to 3 hour party. The first one, opening night, will be following the film, and we know that there are sound, what would you call it, ordinances to make sure that we don't have a rager going on, you know, past 11 o'clock at night. We have many volunteers, the serving staff, myself, Kelly, are all on hand to make sure that this is under control. And then the event that takes place on Saturday is simply just a cocktail party right before we go in for the screening for our honorees. So that's a little bit more tame because it only is from like 5:30 to 7, and then we all kind of roll into the Mahui. Again, we'll have another caterer. It's Peter Platt from Lynn on the Green will be taking care of that with tip certified bartenders, volunteers, and servers all on hand, making sure that, you know, things are cleaned up and that everything is under control. And again, it is a very brief party on Saturday and about a 3-hour event on Thursday opening night.
Any other questions? Yep.
Yeah, I had a question just since we have you here.
Sure.
So with all the media about the Triplex Center and the possible sale, are you planning on screening films at the Triplex this
Yes.
year?
Yes, we've already gotten a promise from Richard Stanley that no matter what happens, we will be at least able to use that venue one more time for this bit, so.
So I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote. Garfield?
Right. Excuse me,
Eric?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
And aye, it's unanimous. The next one is 2 weekday entertainment licenses for Thursday, June 1st and Saturday, June 3rd from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. Again, for park behind the town hall. Do I have a motion?
Can I say so moved and she?
You can.
Motion to approve.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second. Any questions on this one? Roll call vote. Garfield?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
And aye, it's unanimous. This next one is permission to hang banners along Main Street between Bridge and Pleasant. 3 poles on Bridge and Railroad Street from April 24th through June 12th, 2023. Lee, go right ahead.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions?
May I just add, it's actually 3 banners on Railroad Street, and then will be 12 between Roster and Castle. We've already got permission from National Grid because we've been doing this for so long, and they allow us to use their poles, which requires, you know, the insurance and all that that's made out to the town and National Grid. So just to make sure that.
So it's more than 3.
It's more than
like 12. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Lauren, for that clarification. Anyone else? Roll call. Garfield?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
And aye, it's unanimous. And last is a request from Berkshire International Film Festival for a moratorium for parking limits during the event from June 1st to June 4th, 2023. Lee?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Garfield?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
And aye, it's unanimous. Good luck to Berkshire International Film. We've been doing this a long time together, and it's always been a great event. It's great for the town.
So much for your cooperation. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Public hearings. Nick Arienti for Price Chopper Operating Company, DBA Market 32, for reconsideration of a wine and malt package store license application for 300 Stockbridge Road, James Collins, manager. So let's first start with Garfield.
I have to recuse myself in this issue.
Okay, and let's open the public hearing. We'll hear from Mark, and then we'll get an explanation of the project. So do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
Sure, I make a motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
Roll call vote. Eric?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
And aye, it's unanimous. Mark, do you want to give a little introduction?
Sure, thank you, Steve. I just wanted to provide a little background since it's been almost a year now since we had this conversation. So at a continued public hearing on May 23rd, 2022, this board voted to deny a beer wine package store license to Price Chopper on a split 2-2 vote with 1 recusal. And that decision was then appealed to the ABCC. And then on August 8th, I attended the hearing to represent the board, and our town attorney, David Dineski, was also in attendance that day. So no decision or recommendation by the ABCC has been received as of today. So Price Chopper representatives are here tonight requesting reconsideration. So that's what led us to this point.
Thank you, Mark. Nick, do you want to give an explanation of the project or the license?
Yeah, thank you, Steve, and thanks to the board for agreeing to consider this request or reconsider this request for application for the Section 15 wine and malt license that's been applied for by Price Chopper Operating Company in Massachusetts. And again, this is not a resubmission of that license, it's the reconsideration of the existing application that's on record. Just to back up again, Nick Arianti on behalf of, again, the applicant here, Price Chopper Operating Company of Massachusetts. I wanted to just introduce a couple of folks that are here representing the applicant. Here present with us, I have Tom Hayden, who is a Vice President for Price Chopper. I have Jim Collins, who is a store manager for Price Chopper here in the Berkshires, and he's also the designated manager under the liquor license. I also have Danny Weinreb representing the Plaza, the ownership entity for the Plaza. With us on Zoom, we have two folks. One is Blaine Brinkhurst, who's the president of Price Chopper Market 32, who will say a few words after I'm through with my presentation, as well as James Carlson on behalf of Price Chopper, who is his own manager, kind of a regional manager, if you will, for the market. This hearing was this motion for reconsideration of the prior permit was supplemented last week on the 23rd with a letter that I submitted on behalf of Price Chopper, requesting this reconsideration on a couple of specific criteria, which were mentioned back at the February 27th hearing. But I just wanted to highlight what those items were. So the only modification to the original application, which was back on March 31 of 2022, was substantively the floor plan that was presented with that application. So what is being proposed in this case is updating those floor plans. There were 4 sheets that were submitted, and the intent here was to clearly illustrate the area that's being proposed to be used to display and store beer and wine inventory. And in addition, that's spread out over 4 sheets to clearly demarcate specifically where that footprint is going to be allowed for sales, and as well as an existing floor layout. The illustrated or updated floor plans, what they do is they illustrate kind of the nature and the boundaries, if you will, very specifically and very formally, that will encompass the floor area for retail sales. Also includes a very small, that's about 2,490 square feet, by the way, that area that is contemplated on these plans for kind of the retail space. There's also a small storage area, lock storage area, in the rear of the store for further storage, so just under 200 square feet. The submission also included a plan showing that the ends of the aisles, in this case, or the aisle where the proposal to have the beer and wine sales take place is going to be closed off during non-sales hours with gates, and that information was submitted and will be incorporated into the plan to refurbish not only this area, but the store in general, assuming there's a positive vote tonight. Finally, what was included in those plans was just some representative photographs, shelving, and so forth of what is typical for Price Chopper and Market 32 and other venues that they have across Massachusetts. One of the things that was been really the primary importance and primary reason that Price Chopper has taken the time and made the effort and wants to be here tonight to ask for reconsideration is because of the fact that they understand and know the importance of being clear with what they're going to do, and the importance with some of the comments I think that have been made during the prior process as well as along the way. And so they wanted to make some affirmative representations of conditions that they want to offer themselves in order to show that they understand some of the issues that are involved, and to be able to control this process even more than statute or the typical process requires. And in doing that, they wanted to really offer 4 conditions. And one is that the floor area that's depicted on those updated plans for the dedicated beer wine aisle will not be expanded in any way, shape, or form, unless by a further modification of a license if one is so granted today. So no pushing, no pulling, no kind of extension without explicit approval by the town. There won't be any advertising or merchandising of wine and beer outside of the dedicated beer aisle. So it's more or less enclosed within the 4 corners and inward facing. Again, there won't be any advertising or end of aisle merchandising of beer and wine on the ends of those aisles. So if you take a look at the plan, the retail floor is enclosed on the long sides with long aisles, the other sides of which have typical retail goods, and then 4 aisle caps or ends. Those ends will not have outward facing alcohol. Those will be other typical retail grocery store products. So no out facing alcohol displays, no opportunity for that to leak into any of the corridors or any space other than the defined area. And same with any other storage shelving units that are within the retail area. It's going to be within that defined space. Finally, again, as I said before, there'll be a lockable security gate at both ends enclosing that area for any non-sale time, so that it's not available for customers to use. In addition, and this is a product just of the circumstance that we're in with this situation. That is that, as Mark mentioned, there is an appeal that is before the ABCC at this time. Certainly, if the board were to consider and make a vote, an affirmative vote, issuing granting the license to Price Chopper Market 32, as a condition of that, we would further agree to withdraw that appeal and do away with the appeal process in order to let the license proceed and complete that process. At this point, I just wanted to turn things over to Blaine Bringhurst, who's the president of Price Chopper, who wanted to express himself again why this is important and what the genesis of the request is really all about in substance. So, Blaine, if you're available, please go ahead.
Yeah, good evening. Can everyone hear me okay?
We can.
Okay, excellent. Hey, thanks again. We got before you all just a couple of weeks ago, and we certainly appreciate the time to reconvene and to rehear this request. Just a couple of quick iterations, and I'll try not to be redundant. We love our relationship and affiliation with the town of Great Barrington. We've operated a supermarket there for just about 27 years. It's been a great store and a great community. Our teammates are largely from Great Barrington, and they've been very dedicated, loyal, hardworking, honest, great people, and we've enjoyed the affiliation. We'd really like the opportunity to come in and invest about $4 million and really enhance our store. Unfortunately, in order to make those dynamics work, we really need to get ourselves on a level playing field with the competition in the market, and to be able to have this offering of a wine and malt license so that we can draw consumers into our stores, because it is a big draw into stores, and to continue to grow ourselves and remain profitable. But we would like to invest about $4 million in the store and expand it in several areas. As Nick just represented, our full intent is to honor all the commitments that we've made. We will merchandise, if granted the license, we will merchandise wine and malt products only inside this one aisle of the store that we've designated. We will not market outside of this one aisle. We will not place wine or malt products on the end caps leading into this aisle. And we will have a lockable security gate that will be installed on both ends of the aisle to keep people out of the area and away from the alcoholic beverages when it is not lawful to sell due to the time of day. And we agree to live up to these and make certain that we are good citizens, good responsible corporate citizens, and follow these guidelines. In addition to that, I think we bring to the table a great history of following state laws with regards to selling to impaired or underage. You know, we operate 8 stores currently in the state of Massachusetts, and have a very good track record, a spotless track record of complying with all state and local laws with regards to selling of this product. In fact, Jim Collins would be our store manager in this store. He is not today, but part of the reason we would move Jim there is because he has been the steward over this sacred responsibility in both our Pittsfield and Lenox stores over the past 8 to 10 years, and again, has had no violations to this. So he brings a wealth of knowledge and vast experience in making certain that these are handled appropriately and according to the law. So, I mean, that is what we would like to do: invest these dollars and really improve the store, add this offering so we can be competitive in the marketplace, and continue the tremendous relationship we've had in this great community.
Thank you. Nick, anything else?
No, that's all we have at the moment. I do have, as I introduced, members of Price Chopper staff as well as the owner here to answer questions, and I'll certainly do my best to answer any questions as well on behalf of the board or any of the public that are here.
Okay, so we'll start with public comments to speak in favor or opposition.
Thank you very much. I'd like to, Ed Domaney, 327 State Road, Domaney's Liquors. I'd like to make a few comments. A few years ago, 4 licenses were given to Great Barrington as a gift from the state. There was a new class of license, not binding to population. We were against you accepting these licenses for a few reasons, but mainly because we had to buy our licenses and work hard to pay for them over the years. Ask did Big Y. So it just didn't set right. But we accepted them, and with that said, at least you gave them to the right people. That you doled them out properly. Up to now, you gave them to small businesses who deserve them. That's what they were designed for. Matt Rubner, the cheesemonger, the co-op market, a small country market owned by the people, for the people, the little store Depart, who does a lot of outreach and, you know, public work for the community. And we just recently did a little wine tasting with them. And now you want to give the license to a store that is part of a 300 chain enterprise with Tops Market. Very powerful, very wealthy company. And it just isn't right. Now Price Chopper, okay, have rented space, assuming they will be handed by you guys a license when we all had to work for ours. They're telling you that they'll leave the community. They did the last meeting if they don't get what they want. Well, how about this? How about if they want to leave with all goodwill, let them go. They served us well. Someone else will come to town. We can have a Stop and Shop, a Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, many others. People will be lined up to come to our beautiful town. And no offense, but how dare you threaten Great Barrington that you're going to leave because you don't get what you want? You could have fixed the store up a long time ago. Where is the extra business going to come from if they get the license? It's going to come from me, from Plaza Package, Gorman and Norton's, Trotta's, et cetera, et cetera. There's only so much in that pie to offer. We've worked very hard in our businesses over the years, and to just get worn down during these economic times by another store that just wants to, you know, they want to make ends meet, they want to help their bottom line, but it's going to wear all of us down. And there's only so much that I can allow to serve. And I just really have to emphasize that this is a huge, huge operation they have. And I know they have good intentions. If I were them, I'd probably want a license, but you as the select board, please deny the license. You don't have to take it. You can give it back to the town or to the state. Tell them we don't want it. Tell them we have enough. Give it back.
Thank you, Ed.
Steve, can I talk on your behalf? You ran the best pharmacy on planet Earth ever. And you saw the problems that were going to arise with pharmacies. Okay. And so you got out. I remember when your father came to my dad who had cancer and delivered cancer medication for him because the drugstore was closed. CVS couldn't do that. It's small business, right? We're for small business. Lee, you were elected because you support small people, us. This is why you're here, to support the small man, not small woman, not the 300 store corporations. You've always overlooked corporate America. Please do it again. Eric, thank you for your stance. We know how you think about this. You believe, according to your previous vote, that there's enough liquor and it doesn't have to be in every store. Thank you for standing up to your principles. I hope that you guys say no to this license. Send it back to the state. Tell them we don't want it. We have enough, more than most towns anywhere. I think we'll still have 11. No one says that we have to distribute another license. Please give it back. It's just going to crush all the other stores that are eking it out. And during these times, running a business, you know how much more it costs. It's very expensive. It's not like it used to be. Between the electric bill, between the gas bill, the insurance, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We pay our employees a fair wage. Price Chopper has a bakery. They have an incredible florist shop. They have a eat-in cafe. They sell lawn furniture. Well, how much more do they want? I'm sure I'm missing other things. A pharmacy. They have an incredible pharmacy, but they want beer and wine, so they can be competitive. But they can be competitive without that. You'll get more respect than you could ever imagine from people in this community if you turn down that license. There's nothing more I can say to speak of, but what you do tonight will affect my family's livelihood and many other families' livelihood in either a positive or negative way. And I'm really pleading to you guys. I really am. I don't beg, but I'm begging to you. Think hard on this, okay? I'm not saying everyone's going to vote for it, but think your heart. You can deny it. You can say, no, we have enough.
Thank you, Ed. Anyone else? Okay, before we, is someone coming up? Yep.
And there's one online.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you want to do the online for, I know how.
Yeah, let's do the online first. We'll take every other one. There's 2 online, actually.
Yeah. Vivian?
Vivian, go right ahead. State your
Okay.
name and address.
Vivian Akel, 8 Wyandotte Street in Housatonic. First of all, I would like to support Ed Domaney and the other small businesses in Great Barrington, the other small liquor establishments that have behaved in a very responsible way over the years in the way they've managed their businesses and respecting age considerations for selling liquor. That being said, I really would wonder how Price Chopper would manage that. I have been shopping in the community for over 25 years. I stopped going to Price Chopper because of the irresponsible ways the supermarket was managed. The produce was
just stick to the topic at hand, please.
Okay, so my topic is related to my questioning whether they in fact would run a responsible business in the licensing that they're requesting, given their history in other areas of the supermarket management.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Do we have at the podium, please?
Hi, Joe Domaney, 6 Abbey Hill, and as my dad pointed out, these licenses were not designed to line the pockets of these big monster corporations like Price Chopper. I'd also like to point out that this license was brought up back in March of 2022. Since then, there has been a ballot question that the public voted down, and among other aspects of that question 3 ballot in November, the expansion of beer and wine licenses was what they said no to. The people have spoken that there is not a need for that. They want it. People don't need it. I keep asking myself, why is our town so concerned about the success of Price Chopper Corporation? 5 years ago, when these licenses were made available, citizens stood up and spoke to the board that the law of competition would always prevail, and that the necessary amount of places to purchase alcohol would be determined by those who could compete and stay afloat. The same law holds true to any industry, and it's apparent that Price Chopper has not been able to stay relevant and stay afloat. They're claiming that they need to stay competitive. They're claiming this so much so that they're holding this town hostage over the ability to sell product that is known to have extremely small margins and is more than extremely accessible. How will selling a product that is available in over a dozen stores in a 3-mile stretch save this big corporation's grape bearing location? It won't. They failed in lead, they closed, and that store had plenty of alcohol. All of this is just a ploy for their corporate team to tug at our heartstrings, make you feel pity, give you a potentially empty ultimatum of leaving this town, and ultimately try and force you guys force your hand into giving this big corporation the ability to put out small family-run shops like we have here in this town. They've already done that with many other segments of many markets, florists, pharmacists, and butchers. You can think of anything in that store. They've put many people out of business. Grocery stores are a very loose term these days. In fact, really, they're more like a mega store. That said, in the last meeting, what really bothered me the most, honestly, is that they threatened to cut their employees' hours. Those employees have worked tirelessly for them, and we care about our people, so should they. Those people are right here from our community, and for them to leverage their well-being to get something that they want, but yet really shouldn't need in order to be competitive is kind of sad. We don't cut our employee hours when times get slow, and would never use that as a threat to gain power over someone. It's just wrong, and it shows what their corporate office thinks of the well-being of our town. In over 50, our family business has been in business for 50 years, and our family has done everything in our power to stay current, be adaptive, have the best selection, give customers the highest quality of service, and most importantly, be thankful for every single person that walks through that door. That's one of the biggest things that we preach to our staff, is just to be thankful and say thank you to people.
No, if you could just wrap up, your time is up.
Yes, we've made countless improvements to our storefront and the interior over just even the past 30 years. If we hadn't, we would not have been able to stay successful with all of the competition that's in this town. My dad and I are not afraid of competition. That is something that we are not afraid of. You cannot be in business and be afraid of competition. It's part of it. That's what it is. What I'm standing up here for is to fight for what's right about this community. And this community is built on small business.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah.
Carol, your mic is open.
Yeah, Carol McGlinchey, go right ahead.
Carol McGlinchey, 10 Beacon Hill, Housatonic. I won't reiterate and repeat what's already been said, but I want to talk in support of the Domainis and all the other small businesses. We have two businesses who have been here 50 years, both of whom are going out of business this spring, who said that, you know, the retail market's getting flatter. I moved here because of the small town appeal and the independent businesses. I think that's what makes our town special. And I deeply resent Price Chopper coming in with such a threatening tone, acting like the bully in the sandbox, that if they don't get this license, they're going to pull out. They've managed to be successful all these years there. And if they don't want to continue along that line without the liquor license, as Ed said, there's other people be happy to come in there. I also want to acknowledge Selectman Gabriel for his courageous stance a few meetings ago to say how wonderful it would be if there was a grocery store that didn't sell liquor for those who would prefer not to have that in a community that does have issues with addiction and recovery. And I think that Price Chopper would be greatly respected if they also were able to do that. So just to say, as a taxpayer here and one who loves our small town feel and greatly supports all of our smaller family-owned independent businesses, I am against this license being granted to Price Chopper, especially under their threatening tone. Thank you.
Thank you very much. If there's no one at the podium, then Eve Martin.
Actually, we can do that someone at the podium. Steve,
okay, go right ahead.
Just rotate back. Okay. So.
Yeah.
You guys know me, Stephen Donaldson, on Cypress Street, Great Barrington. I wrote this a couple hours ago, but I'm last in line, kind of, so there may be a little, I apologize, repetition and redundancy, but I do feel like I want to just say what I feel about this. I don't believe that there's anyone in this room tonight who was present at last year's town meeting who does not remember clearly that the meeting was dominated by the issue of the housing stock of this town slowly transitioning to temporary for-rent property facilitated by the likes of VRBO and Airbnb. What was gnawing most at the nerves and the opinions of many of the town's residents who attended that meeting was the effect that some people see playing out in present time and others were speculating would begin to pervade this town in the not too distant future. A breakdown of the rich sense of community that many of us have here and value so much, and that many of the current residents sought out when they left other locations because they saw those things happening there to relocate here over the course of the last 5 to 15 years. Many were adamant that an unmanaged or unregulated free market in Great Barrington residential real estate would quickly result in the erosion of that sense of community and neighborhood, and that our local streets would become impersonal spaces filled mostly with strangers. Established residents would no longer know the people next door or just down the street, and those people would be less likely to be keeping an eye out for them, or for the elderly couple a few houses down, or for the neighbors' kids who are out playing in the street. And in many ways, it obviously proved quite clear that that's not an outlandish way of seeing what was or what could happen in a town like ours, given that type of situation. So this issue being debated tonight strikes me as having the same chord in the local business community. You've heard it a million times. Small business is the backbone of America. It is definitely the backbone of Great Barrington, although it is slowly being threatened and some elements of it have already been erased from sight. Somebody already mentioned florists, butchers. Steve Bannon, you ought to know, you owned the last independent pharmacy in Great Barrington. It was an intimate, personal, trusted, and treasured business, and many longtime residents still rue the day that you sold it to CVS. When they would come to Bill's Pharmacy to fill a prescription or buy Band-Aids, shaving cream, you knew their name. You would greet them personally. Now we have what, 4 or 5 pharmacies in Great Barrington. There's CVS, there's Walgreens, there's Big Y, basically a grocery supermarket. And one of the subjects of tonight's discussion, Price Chopper, another grocery supermarket. And my experience in any of those places is that no worker there does or cares to know any customer's name or anything about any customer walking through that store. The liquor business in this town is a little different because there is not just one player left. In fact, it really should be clear that we really already have more stores selling beer, wine, and liquor in Great Barrington than a town of 6,850 residents needs. Right now, there is a license for about every 600 men, women, and children. Most of those businesses have local roots. Domains, and I'm going to say this applies to John and Tracy's and other small local businesses that are purveyors of wine, beer, and liquor. But I came here 25 years ago. I was immediately a customer of Domains, and I know them better than I know any of the other businesses that I could reference in this discussion. But Domains is
Steve, you're about a minute over, so if you would just wrap it up, please.
I just have to finish this.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so it's been here for 15 years. It boasts 3 generations of ownership and another one on the way if we don't mess it up and create an environment in which they can no longer survive. Domains is the Cheers of liquor stores in Great Barrington. It's a destination. It's a place where people go because everybody knows your name. Very few business people in this town without seeking, very few business people in this town without seeking or asking for recognition have been as kind-hearted, generous, and charitable as the Domains family has been for years. They have unhesitatingly supported this community in every way they could, whenever asked, and they deserve the support of the community. It is the exact kind of business we should embrace, treasure, and protect, not threaten with extinction. But if you give another license to another massive corporation, you'll be threatening them with extinction. We don't need another seller of beer, wine, and spirits in this town, and we certainly don't need another branch of a giant corporation with no real ties to or vested interests in Great Barrington to have one. Through their own threats to leave the town, if they are not granted this license, Price Chopper has already revealed to all of us and you that they have no genuine long-term vested interest in Great Barrington. They'll just leave.
Steve, your time is up.
Give them another channel through which to suck more profit out of this town. Don't suck the life out of
Steve, your time really is up. I've given you 5 minutes and time is 3, so thank you very much.
Just 2 sentences, please. Just 2 sentences. Just please don't rip the core out of this town by allowing big box businesses that thrive on the outskirts of town to drive smaller independent businesses that keep the core of this town rich out of existence. These are the businesses that once they're gone, they cannot be replaced.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you very much for your indulgence. I appreciate it.
Eve Martin.
Yeah, hi there. I hope you can hear me. I'm going to keep this short because I know time is up, but I just want to emphasize
just your name and address, please, for the record.
Absolutely. I'm Eve Martin, and I'm on 74 Main Street in Great Barrington.
Thank you.
Over the last couple of years with this pandemic, we've really seen, the fall of so many small businesses in the Berkshires, and we've learned the importance of supporting those small businesses, those mom and pop shops. And what Price Chopper is doing is taking a really sad and pathetic approach with their threat. It's unnecessary. They're threatening livelihoods, and they're taking a really unethical approach, and they do not deserve a license. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much, Eve. Anyone at the podium?
Yes, Steve.
Thank you.
Good evening, Michelle. Sorry, Steve. Michelle LeBaire, 70 Division Street. I've been sitting in the audience listening to all of this. Just for the record, born and raised here. My dad knew Bill Bannon when Steve was just a little guy behind the counter at Bill's Pharmacy. You know Ed's dad. Ed, Steve, and I all are Spartans from Iron Mountain, graduated the same year. So there's history there. But I'm just kind of first off, I went into Big Y and they're selling plenty of beer and wine. And no one's bringing that up at all. Price Chopper's been in our community years and years and years. As a matter of fact, my brother just retired from Price Chopper after 44 years. And I asked him about the beer and wine licenses. He was up in Lenox. And I know from my firsthand experience being at the Lenox store, no one is getting through that cash register that shouldn't be getting through that cash register with any beer or wine. It's highly regulated. I talked to my brother about it. There are measures in place that, no, it's not just not going to happen. But Price Chopper by Barrington's been around for a long time. And talking about that they don't even know your name. I remember my dad, who's now gone, one of his pleasures was going into Price Chopper and shopping and going to Sherry in the deli and giving her a hug. Or Shane, who works there. Everybody knew my brother Mark, who works there. I go in there now and I'm given a hug. So I'm a little confused because I'm seeing two different versions. Has Price Chopper and Great Barrington seen better days? Yes, it has. Everybody knows that. And by the way, we have a lot of locals who work in Price Chopper there. The Market 32 in Lenox, when it opened up and it's beer and wine, you didn't see me, James, up there going, oh my God, it's going to wipe us out. Me, James is just doing just fine up there. So I'm just a little confused where this is coming from. And if for the people who say we have more than enough beer and wine in the community, well, to be honest with you, we have more than enough marijuana too. And everybody's keeping their mouths shut on that. Okay. So I think this is a business that needs to evolve and it needs to go to a Market 32. I didn't see, I read about Price Chopper, if it's not viable, it may have to leave the community. It makes me really sad. But Market 32s now are the mission of these companies. I have nothing, if somebody wants to go to Domaney's, like you go to Taft Farms for a certain experience. You go to Guido's for a certain experience. You go to Domaney's for a certain experience. But just FYI, I was in Price Chopper last week and a woman in front of me said, gee, where's your wine? Cashier went, we don't have it here. Well, where do I go? Plaza Package. So they hit Plaza Package before they hit Domaney's. So I think there's plenty of business to go around. I myself, as a shopper, would love to see a Market 32 in Great Barrington. But again, Price Chopper has seen better days. And I look forward to seeing it, revamp and go 2023. Thank you very much. And I don't think it's going to hurt the smaller businesses.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Steve.
We have a couple more.
Yeah, Christopher Weaver.
Hi, I just will make this very brief. Christopher Weaver, 95 West Avenue.
Thank you.
I have known Domaney's and used them for 35 years, but the more important issue is that there's a unique nature to the town that I hope for those of us who've been around the town for a while appreciate, which has to do with the unique sort of qualities that Great Barrington brings to those who are within Great Barrington, and the unique aspect of it to those people who don't live in Great Barrington who have the experience. Domaney's has always been part of that. Domaney's, Ed used to deliver liquor personally to my mother and stay an extra 10 minutes just to talk to her because he knew that she was widowed. Now, that's not something that's very normal. And it's the kind of experience that as a son is important to sort of recommend from the standpoint of something that goes beyond business alone. And I think that insofar as Domaney's is concerned, the point is well taken that I'm not saying that Price Chopper couldn't sell something. I'm just saying that there's a unique nature to the town. And the question is, how much do we dilute it and lose people like the Domaney's on one level or another who do things that are far beyond the norm? So I just wanted to remind people of that because this town, as you probably know better than most, has had its ups and downs in terms of quality of life. I'm not, as a sidebar, I'm not sure we need, 7 or 8 pot shops in the town.
But in terms of the people who have been the guardians, I would rate Domaini's very high. And I think Joe and Ed exemplify that. And I just wanted to put in my 2 cents.
Thank you very much.
Ellen?
Ellen, go right ahead. Just unmute yourself and state your name and address. Just try to unmute yourself and then you can talk. Is there anyone in the room that's still waiting to talk?
Nick Irianti would like to speak.
Okay, let's just make sure we have all the public comment because we're going to stop public comment. So Ellen's apparently having technical problems. If she unmutes in the next few seconds, we'll go back to her. Nick, go right ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. I just wanted to clarify a few things and point out a few things for the record. Despite what the paper, I think, may have written, there were no threats, okay, that were made at the last hearing. What Price Chopper is concerned with from business perspective is the long-term viability of this store and the population that it serves, which is an important part of this community, an important part of this population. What they want to see is to have some assurance that they're going to be able to provide for that portion of the town. For those people who go to Price Chopper because of its location on the north side of town, because it's extremely competitive from a price component, and because of the familiarity simply that people have with it. So there's a reality to what this means for their long-term viability, as well as the long-term viability of the plaza, because Price Chopper is a very, very important asset to the plaza. It drives more than any other tenant that's there, trips to the plaza, and it helps the plaza tech, and is really a critical element, and overall a critical element to serving the north end, if you will, or the north side of Barrington, and certainly as a direct link and closest link as far as grocery stores go to Lusitanic. I just wanted to point out, this hearing is not about Price Chopper being an adversary of Domaini's. Domaini's has an all alcohol liquor license. They serve a very, very, very different element of the community than what Price Chopper is intending to do to provide that additional benefit to their existing customers and be able to make the experience not only more beneficial, but easier for those customers. So I don't, somehow it seems to have become a Domaini's against Price Chopper. That's really not what's happening here. I just want to point that out. The desire overall to acquire the license is to be able to compete on an equal playing field. That's all. And that ability to compete on an equal playing field, not only with Big Y, but the other grocers, nearly all of whom sell beer and wine, if not liquor as well. And the Price Chopper application, by the way, beer and wine only, not the addition of liquor, will allow them not only for present day to compete on an equal level, but for the future to ensure that they will be here long term. Okay. Next, it seems that some people are under the impression that this is adding a liquor license. That's not happening. This is an existing license. Selectboard has every right to issue. I suppose they also have the right to not issue. But this is an existing license. There's no license being added. The only reason it's been off the table for a year is because of this process. Finally, I just wanted to button that up. I wanted to just see if Lane had any comments to make. If not, then I'm happy to.
Yeah, I don't want to take anybody's further time. Nick, I think you said it very well. We certainly did not intend to make any threats. We certainly do not want to close a store as long as it is functioning and is serving the community. And it would not be our intention to close a store. And we just want the opportunity to be competitive with those that we compete against in the marketplace, and do so in a way that'll make our customers' lives easier while following all guidelines that we need to follow. We really enjoyed the town and the great teammates that we have, and we'd like to stay here and then invest in the store and make it even better and a better shopping experience. And that's what we're asking for the ability to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm going to stop public comment now. Before we close the public hearing, board members have questions of the applicant. Not comments yet, but just questions, clarifications, etc.
I had one, Steve.
Yeah, go right ahead, Lee.
For members of Price Chopper that are here, the investment or lack of an investment that hasn't happened up until this point, was that any result of the plan to apply for a liquor license? Because as a few members of the community have noticed, it seems that Price Chopper hasn't been the quality experience that we're used to. So I'm just wondering if there's been a lack of investment, thinking that we would be working towards the liquor license application.
Sure.
So you need to go to the microphone.
Yeah, please.
You need to go to the microphone so people can hear you at home.
Tom Hayden, Director of Real Estate for Price Chopper. So, you know, we have many stores, and we have capital plans that we develop over time. All of the stores in the Berkshires are Market 32s. Pittsfield was one of our first conversions to Market 32. Then Lenox, which was a ground up replacement store of our older store in Lenox, was converted to Market 32. You pointed out Lee closed. That was a very small facility that just wasn't able to be run as a Price Chopper anymore. Lease ran out, wasn't making money, and we made a decision to push that volume to Lenox for the business. So Great Barrington has always been on the radar for Price Chopper, and one of the things that's always come up is in the investment. You have to look at the competitive nature of the market. And Dave Y just did a major remodel. And then the co-op came with alcohol. So it's not, you know, we didn't spend money in Great Barrington because of that. It's just when, you know, we're Market 32 is relatively new to the company. So, you know, we're methodically going through the Berkshires, replacing stores, renovating stores. Same with Worcester, same with Willamette and Springfield, but all of our programs are designed around remodeling our existing fleet into Market 32. We don't remodel stores that aren't Market 32. So it's of course in the business model to get the sale, the incremental sales, to get the IRR that supports the investment for the model. You know, $3.5 million investment has to show sales lift every week, and limited, you know, potential in Great Barrington. We have to get it somewhere, and the alcohol component is part of the sales lift that we need. However, the whole store is going to get redone, and you know it's going to be whether we would invest in the store, convert it to a Market 32, we would have to go back and look at the sales based on not having a beer and wine license, and we don't know what that looks like right now.
So to follow up on 32, so how many of your stores have alcohol license right now, the Market 32s out of, I think you said 7 Massachusetts?
Well, all of our Market 32s in Massachusetts have
liquor licenses?
Yeah. Pittsfield has it, Lenox has it, Mountain Road in Worcester has it, Sutton, Massachusetts has it.
So this is the last one that doesn't, the last Price Chopper in Massachusetts?
No, we have other stores in Massachusetts. We're only allowed 9. This would be our final license. The company is allowed 9 licenses, we currently have 8. So there's been, you know, dialogue internally in the company as to where the best, you know, place that last license. And legislation has changed over the years and made it, you know, granted chains like us additional licenses. But right now, presently, this would be the last one.
For Price Chopper.
For Price Chopper.
That was my question. I have one other, but if you have.
So the last time you were before us, I guess it was a year ago or so, you didn't mention that you might be leaving if you didn't get the license. So it seems a bit of new information. So I'm just wondering if we could go back to that, or am I not remembering that?
I don't think it was ever phrased that way that we were leaving. What we've tried to focus on is the long-term viability of the shopping center. So, you know, we have limited capital. We can't, you know, do every store. And, you know, you have to spend your capital where you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck on a sales lift perspective. We have continuity in the Berkshires is one of the reasons that we have a great store in Lennox, a great store in Pittsfield. Everybody loves the Market 32 there. We want it to be in Great Barrington. That's and part of the sales lift is required to justify that $3.5–4 million investment comes from online sales. Not all of it, but yeah.
Another question.
I just wanted to help and address Lee's question. So one aspect of the consideration that is on the table is, you know, which brings up the long-term viability of the store is the fact that, you know, they're a tenant at the shopping center, and so they are, you know, looking at long-term leasing options, and again, need to know, and it is being scrutinized more closely at this point because without having a long-term lease in place, whether they would be obligated to, you know, stay if it's not a performing store. So I think the lease piece is a relevant factor going forward and is part of the consideration. And I think that is different than where they were last year.
Today, I have another question for them.
Yeah, just to piggyback on that. The lease is coming up in a few years on the store. That doesn't mean really anything other than with the remodel, we have a deal with the landlord where we would extend the lease going out into the future, take on more lease term. Obviously, we wouldn't, without our investment in the store, we would have to look at, you know, renewing the lease for every 5 years. So it's just.
So I guess my question is, you're taking two other spaces in addition to your footprint that you have now. How many other spaces are you looking to expand into?
There's 2 bays.
Two more shops.
The truck bank on one
okay.
side, and then on the other side, I think it's
So I guess my follow-up question is that, have you considered just improving what you have on the footprint that you have without, you know, leasing more space, which will cost you more? So condensing your footprint, you know, making more improvements and not necessarily being tied to, you know, having to sell liquor to, you know, basically, you know, make up for the money that you're spending on a new lease with the 2 difference.
Yeah, our design person is not here, but I know we've gone through some iterations to try to convert the store to a Market 32 with beer and wine within inside the 4 walls without taking additional space. And it's you know, we're trying to put our best foot forward with what we can do with the box. So we would take in the plans the pharmacy and health and beauty aids moved over into those 2 additional bays, which frees up the area where the pharmacy is now. And the whole store on the perimeter is getting touched, you know, so it's not just, it's very complicated. It's above my pay grade actually, but you know, we've looked at inside the 4 walls and it just didn't, you know, work for the merchants, for the people who are actually on the, you know, designing the store to generate the best, you know, product for the company to put forward on Market 32. So the answer is yes, we did look at it. The most desirable plan for us is to take those 2 additional bays you know, make our lease with Danny for those spots that he doesn't have to go out and find tenants for. And, you know, just make our box the best, most efficient, most, you know, desirable product for the people of Great Barrington.
And the public ask questions?
No, we're done with public comment.
I'm not commenting. I want to ask questions.
No, we're done with public comment. There is no public questions. That was closed off.
Can I ask one of you to ask the question?
I don't know how many times I can say this, but the answer is no.
I have a sort of a very specific question. There's an addition to the 2,500 square feet. There's something I think called a lockable shelf. Is that a shelf that will always be locked unless somebody gets an employee to unlock it?
No. Are you talking about
it's in the back near where the bread is now, I think, near where the bakery is.
Jimmy, can you answer that?
No,
it's the
lock, the storage area.
I don't know. There's something. There's two places where there'll be liquor. The big place, and then in the back there's this very small.
Yeah,
I think
what that would be is just a storage area where it would be secured in the back
at all times
for restock.
Okay,
not on the side.
Continue, Ed, if you have other questions.
That's it.
Eric, you haven't?
I have no questions, no.
Lee, are you done?
I just have one question. The square footage of the additional 2 shops that you're purchasing or leasing, what is that?
3272.
3,272.
For the other 2. Okay. So the area of the 2 rows for the alcohol sales, that's just a small.
2490, wasn't it?
2494. Okay. So essentially, the leasing of the 2 extra stores is to accommodate the alcohol, the 2 rows for the alcohol.
Well, probably to you know, augment the health and beauty aid section that's moving over that area, and the pharmacy.
Okay, anyone else from the select board? Motion to close the public hearing.
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Roll call vote. Eric?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
And aye, it's unanimous. Select board discussion comments. We could either do a motion first or we can have comments first. It's up to select board members.
I got a few comments and I don't care which way it goes.
Ed, Lee, do you have a?
That's fine.
Also no preference, yeah.
Why don't we have the motion? And Lee, if you're going to make the motion, just include the conditions in it, please. If you're doing a positive motion.
Well, I'd like discussion before I.
Okay, you just, okay, that's what I asked. Go ahead.
Listen here.
So I guess I'll start. I just want to state, I think I stated it last time, but I feel Big Y's all alcohol license was a mistake. I voted against this the first time around for multiple reasons. And one of them is because of, I feel that a grocery store of this size should not have alcohol in it. As a small business owner myself, I have a lot of concerns about a beer and wine license going to another corporation or any corporation like Price Chopper and Big Y. So I have listened to both sides of the discussion, and I do truly appreciate the conditions that Price Chopper has put forward here. And although it helps, but my opinion hasn't changed. My vote will be no at the end. So
thank you, Eric. Ed or Lee?
Yeah. I don't see what Price Chopper said as threatening. On the other hand, they did demonstrate that it's dollars and cents whether they stay. You know, I think we're not supposed to consider competition as far as, you know, another license could hurt small businesses. On the other hand, the reason we've been asked to consider this is for competition, so they can compete with the other stores. What it really comes down to for me is if somebody walks into really other than Big Y, any of these stores, somebody walks into Domaines who looks like they might be young, all eyes are on them till they're gone. My fear is not somebody somehow getting past the register and paying for alcohol who's not supposed to. It's somebody slipping it on the bottom of the cart, throwing their coat over it, and not seeing it again until it's out in the parking lot of the car. Guido's now has somebody stationed in the liquor department all the time. The co-op has the food counter across all the way, which is staffed all the time, right across from where the alcohol is. Really, when it comes down to, for me, I think I agree that it was a mistake to give it to Big Y. I thought I was leaning the other way. I thought my concern was losing Price Chopper, but I really don't think that's something we should be considering. Your turn.
Oh, I foresee you.
Oh, go ahead, Lee.
No, you first. I don't know. I mean, this is a tough one because competition is competition, and obviously I'm a big supporter of small businesses. Yet I also realize that there are people that live on this side of the town that are looking for convenience. So it's a tough one. I did have a concern at the last hearing about people that are struggling with alcohol substance use or alcohol use, and that's when I asked for the conditions with not having a satellite display. So I'm very appreciative that the Price Chopper group has offered that as a voluntary condition. And yeah, I mean, I'm just one of these things. It's a really hard decision for me right now.
So I guess it's my turn, and it's kind of emotional for me, which doesn't happen very often. Domaini and I, as Michelle pointed out, were classmates in high school. Joe played on, that's when he was Joey. I don't know if he still is, on my son's Little League team. They're great people. It isn't about Domaini's versus Price Chopper, although I understand it. You live in a small town, you know people. I know if I'm going to buy liquor, which I haven't drank in a while, but if I was going to buy it, I'd go to Domaini's. Whether it's Big Y, Price Chopper, whatever, I would go in to see Ed and Joey. I think that they're concerned about business. I understand, but I also understand the way they treat people. They're going to do just fine. That this is not going to, in my humble opinion, they're just too nice of people and too good of people that they will continue to survive and thrive and be great for this town. I voted yes the last time. I haven't found a reason to change my vote. If I lose friends, which I know Eddie well enough, I don't think I will, but if I do, it will be my loss for my life, because they're nice people. They're what we refer to as benches. They're good people. So having said that, I have no reason to change my mind. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion. Well, I'll make the motion for discussion. I make a motion to grant the wine and malt package store license application to Nick Arienti for Price Chopper operating care of doing business as Market 32.
Of course, not actually granting it to Nick.
Oh, well, for the Price Chopper. So I'd like to amend that and say that I am making a recommendation to grant a wine and malt package store license application. Sorry, not a license application, a license to Price Chopper
With the conditions proposed.
with the conditions proposed by Price Chopper.
I'll second that.
Discussion. I think we've had our discussion, but anyone else, I'll give you all the time you want.
Yeah, I mean, I'm, as I said before, I mean, it's a tough one, and I know how I voted the first time, which was obviously granting the license, but I do hear the small business please. I didn't really see this as a big business versus local business. It really shouldn't be. A competition is competition. But at the same time, I understand the pleas of small businesses throughout any community. So, you know, it's a tough one.
It is a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, Ed knows and Joey know I had a small business. It's not easy operating a small business, and competition makes it more difficult. But
yeah, I guess, you know, I'll ask a process question, really, I guess, to the town. You know, there's a license available anyway, so we're really not in the, you know, we don't have the ability just to not. I mean, I guess we do have the ability not to.
We don't have to grant it.
Yeah,
we do not have to grant it. Okay, roll call vote. Let's do this. Eric?
No.
Ed?
No.
Lee?
I'm abstaining.
And I'm voting yes, so it fails for lack of 3 votes. Thank you, everyone. Okay, let's move ahead. Continued for March 6th, special permit application from the Great Barrington Affordable Housing Trust. Care of White Engineering with Central Berkshire Habitat for Humanity for a planned unit residential development of new residential homes at 0 North Plain Road, map 26, lot 53A, per section 3.1.4A9, 8.5, and 10.4 of the zoning bylaw. Before we reopen the public hearing, we have a few select board announcements. Ed, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm just recusing myself.
Thank you. Garfield?
Yeah, I have a statement to read.
Thank you.
Okay, at the public hearing session on March 6th, after the presentation had begun, I made a statement regarding my status as a member of the Affordable Housing Trust, which is a co-applicant for the special permit, along with Central Berkshire Habitat for Humanity. I raised the question of whether my position as a trustee would mean that I would have to recuse myself from sitting on this application. The town manager has reviewed this issue and with the town council has advised that based on the facts of the application, I would not need to recuse myself. However, I want to state for the record, my position with the trust and the reason I will not be recusing myself. The application requests a planned unit development special permit for housing construction that will be carried out by Central Berkshire Habitat for Humanity in a cooperative arrangement with the Affordable Housing Trust on the land that the trust owns. Habitat will buy the land, but the purchase price is only for $1. This is not a money-making arrangement for the trust. I am the select board representative on the trust. As a member of the trust, I would not receive any personal financial benefit or other benefit as a result of the proposed development. And no member of my immediate family or business I am associated with will receive any benefit. I believe that I can evaluate the application in a fair and impartial manner, the same as if an applicant for a permit was submitted to the board by another town department. For those reasons, I will continue to participate in the special permit process as a voting member of the board. I have filed a disclosure form regarding the situation with the town clerk. Thank you.
Thank you, Garfield. Do I have a motion to reopen the public hearing?
I make a motion to reopen the public hearing.
Second.
Roll call vote. Garfield?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
And aye, it's unanimous. So let me just give the public some information. By the way, before I forget, at the height of the meeting, and I haven't looked recently, but been a little busy, we had 6 attendees and 48 participants. We are going to have a modified revised plan presentation. The plan's been reduced from 30 units to 20, and that does not need to be a full presentation since we've seen a lot of it, but the applicant will present. And then we didn't close public comments, and we usually don't take public comments a second night, or don't always, but we will take public comments again because the plan has been revised. And what I would ask the people who are going to speak to not repeat what they said the last time, just to try to stick to mostly the change in from 30 to 20. So let's start with the presentation of the revised plans. Brent or Carolyn?
Yes, thank you all. Again, my name is Brent White from White Engineering on behalf of the applicant. Thank you all for your time this evening. As stated in the introduction, this is a continued hearing. Spent a great deal of time considering the feedback that we received during the last meeting, and as stated, we have revised our plan to reduce the total home count on the property from the originally proposed 30 that was submitted in the original special permit application in February of this year, back down to 20 units, which is also consistent with the original concept that had been planned. Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I'll share my screen briefly to show what the 20 units laid out looks like on the property.
Please do.
Is that visible for you all?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Again, just to reorient everyone to the site, the top of the sheet is pointing towards the north. Off to the right-hand side is North Plain Road. And really the plan itself with respect to the main roadway into the property, as well as the loop road, that has remained the same. Obviously, with the reduction in by reducing 10 units here, we've consolidated all of the home sites to be either around the loop directly or along the entrance road, as shown here. That has allowed us to increase certainly the amount of open space that is provided behind each and beside each unit here. The internal oval, that configuration has not changed. Obviously, as a part of that reduction here, we now have 50% less water use, 50% less sewage generated, 50% less traffic that will be generated from the homes. Overall, we feel this, with these revisions here, we've been able to consolidate the development even further to the center of the property, providing really the maximum buffer of the rear of the homes to our surrounding neighbors, to the, really in this case, in all four directions, but also maintaining a proper road network that is safe for the fire department to access, as well as all of our future homeowners. And that's a phrase I want to make sure that we keep reiterating here, is that eventually there will be homeowners. These are homes that will be sold to future Great Barrington residents here, homes that will be tax-paying contributors to the town of Great Barrington. As a part of our submittal from the last meeting, I know Carolyn Valley from Central Berkshire Habitat had also prepared or provided a phasing diagram just to better understand. Obviously, we have a certain amount of work, hopefully with a successful vote on a special permit this evening, clearing through the appeal period. I've already discussed with Mr. Renbold here that through the conclusion of that, we would begin to finalize construction documents to support the Mass Works grant and try and get that work underground, ideally end of summer, fall of 2023, in an effort to get construction moving here. And I believe Carolyn will be able to answer any further questions that the board may have on that sequencing plan. But again, we just want to thank the board for all of your time, certainly at the last meeting, and the opportunity to appear before you tonight in consideration of those comments. And I'm happy to turn it over to any other member of our team who wishes to say anything. Thank you.
Is there anyone else on the team who's going to speak?
Brent, could you put up the phasing schematic, please?
If you can give me a minute, I've got to pull that up. I don't have that ready to share.
Okay. So basically, we've submitted the phasing plan. It'll be, each phase will be between 1.5 and 2 years. And so we're looking for a 6-year build out. And we've kind of laid it out in a very thoughtful way so that we're minimizing the effect on the first homes that are constructed. And we think that that'll work out well. One of the things that we really like about this phasing plan is it gives the community a chance to recognize that
7 new families will be coming in, then 6 new families will be coming in, then 7 new families will be coming in. So it's not like you in one fell swoop, you have 20 new families in the community. So it gives a chance for the community and the people to get to know each other.
Elizabeth, go right ahead.
Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah. I'm Elizabeth Goodman, attorney for Central Berkshire Habitat, and I just wanted to say I'm here if you have questions, and I would reiterate our explanation that the houses will be given to homeowners through a lottery system, and then they will be sold via a condominium structure. That's pretty much how we think we're going to do it. But if you have questions about plan or the phasing, I'm here to answer questions. And I think, Brent, you were sharing your phasing plan.
Yeah, that was up on the screen.
Yes, I turned on my camera and I stopped the share. I'll do that again.
Thanks. That's all I want to say.
Another question, I guess, is the 6.5-year time frame.
No, Garfield, we're not on questions yet. We're not there yet. Yeah. Okay, does anyone else on the team who's presenting have anything else to say?
Not at this time, sir.
Thank you. Let's go to public comment. Either speaking in favor or opposition. We'll start with someone in the room first.
Hi, I'm Fred Clark, 388 Park Street North, Housatonic. I'm also the chair of the Affordable Housing Trust. I just want to, add to a couple things here. In terms of the phasing diagram, all of the infrastructure is going to be done in the first part. So that's the heavy work, all of the major work. The other phases are basically building out houses on sites that are already prepared. So it mitigates the impact to the most compact and tightest kind of period. I want to tell you that the Affordable Housing Trust in Great Barrington met the other night. We reviewed the revised plan showing 30 units. The Affordable Housing Trust voted 4-1 to endorse the plan. So we're on board with this. Personally, I just want to say that no matter how many times I've been through this process or a similar process, either wearing this hat or another hat, I'm always amazed at how well the process works. And I think that the process really worked in this case. I think that when the end of the day, we're going to have a very good product, largely because of the input from the board, from the planning board, and from the neighbors. And I think that I don't want to view this revision as anything but a complete success. I think that the impact that, the input, this board gave on March 5th was very helpful. I think we're building a successful project. I think we're building the project that we wanted to build all along. And I just want to celebrate it and say, this is a win. This is a win for the town. Thank you.
Thanks. Joseph Method.
Hi. I'm also on the Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
Just state your name and address for the record.
Oh, sorry. I'm Joseph Method, 9 Mountain View Avenue. I'm Fred's down the street neighbor. And I work with Garfield. Yeah, so I was the one vote against. And the reason why I voted against was I expressed it in a Berkshire Edge article, and I don't need to read the whole article. But the overall gist of it is just that I think that we like Brent said, we are too concerned about the current homeowners and not concerned enough about the future homeowners. And we are too concerned about the abutters and not concerned enough about the overall health of the community. And basically, I think that, so I have a ton of respect for Fred, I have a ton of respect for my colleagues, and I have a ton of respect for the select board. I know that everyone on the select board is one, trying to solve the affordability crisis, and two, they're trying to listen to their constituents. But I disagree that the process worked well. I think the process, if you follow the train from when the property was purchased, I think it has actually been extremely inappropriate. That it has been a process where the basically the neighbors making noises has been has caused people to back away from providing housing. And so first we backed away from renting, and then we backed away from 30 down to 20. And as Garfield said at our meeting, 20 is better than nothing. And I agree with that. And so I'm glad to see this project go forward. But I don't think that it was good that we went from 30 to 20 on the basis of some people complained who were neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph. Is there someone at the podium?
Yes. Yeah. Excuse me. Michelle Bear, 70 Division Street. I'm so glad that the project came to its senses and went back to the 20, which it discussed with the neighborhood. Because you're not building houses here. Habitat's building trusts here. Because I'm assuming this probably won't be the last project in Great Barrington. And I have to tell you, my husband and I came that close to donating a car to Habitat until this had happened. Because I don't trust I don't give out my trust easily. So now Habitat has to earn my trust back again. So I'll be watching this project very carefully. What's going on here? Deeply, deeply insulted by what the previous speaker just said. That somebody who's been here all my life, my parents' families immigrated in, we don't matter. We don't matter. That's really insulting. And if you want to make a bigger impact, you're putting these new houses in a neighborhood, an old neighborhood, where I remember my two uncles built houses in this neighborhood when they came back from World War II that have bad water, but there's going to be state-of-the-art filtration systems in this house. So if my mom lived in this neighborhood and she was dealing with dirty water, but now a new neighbor coming in is going to have a state-of-the-art water filtration, I would feel really ticked off by that. So I am highly insulted by the comments that were just made. It has nothing to do with the board, who have no control over it. But I'm so glad that Habitat came to their senses and did 20. Still question why they went up to 30, because they knew full well the reaction they were going to get. So I would highly recommend that, yes, you're building houses, but you have to rebuild the trust, at least for this citizen. Thank you.
Thank you. So Vivian Akel?
Vivian Akel, 8Y Antoinette Street. And yes, I am an abutter. And I first had a question, since we had preliminary meetings prior to the pandemic, where I think we all agreed that it would be 20 homes. And I'm really perplexed at how it became 30. And I want to also echo what the last speaker just said, that Carolyn, you said that you wanted to be good neighbors. And so there was something that changed when you slipped in a plan of 30 houses. And I think I need to know why that happened and how that happened and how you thought that would be acceptable. Because yes.
So Vivian, I'm going to give you more time. So this is time for comments for or against, and to address it to the chair. It's not time to ask questions. And they've reduced it back to 20. So that's in the past. I absolutely understand your concern, but we're not going to have questions here. This is not time for questions.
Okay, fine. So let me register that that many of the abutters, pardon the expression, because I am a little ticked off at the two speakers ago. Yes, this affects our quality of life. And so we haven't been in favor, mostly because of the process of having it rammed down our throat. And so, yes, I'm against the project. And I'm sure that my opinion isn't going to have an ounce of an effect on where this goes, but my trust really does have to be earned back. Because right now, I think you need a watchdog, because I'm not at all sure that this is going to go the way we're being promised.
Thank you very much, Vivian. Is there someone at the podium?
Yeah.
Yes.
John, can I speak to Steve?
Yes, go ahead, John. Then just state your name and address for the record, please.
Okay. My name is Jonathan Hankin, 43 West Plain Road. I would like to speak tonight on behalf of the 10 or even 20 families of healthcare workers, teachers, firefighters, or service workers who are being denied affordable housing and a chance to build equity by approval of the plan. Both the planning board and, both the select board and the Affordable Housing Trust seem to have determined that the voices of a few abutters are more important. All complaints and discussion have focused solely on the process, not on the design. No abutter has offered a single instance of how housing on this property that had been on the market for 7 years with no abutter offering to buy it would adversely affect their lives or their properties. None of the proposed houses would be as close to the abutters' houses as their existing neighbors. Since the property has direct access to Route 41, there will be zero increase in traffic on any of the abutting streets. Habitat and the Housing Trust have missed a huge opportunity here. The plan submitted, which as required by zoning has not been submitted for the planning board preliminary review and approval, proposes suburban sprawl that could be Levittown, Long Island, 75 years ago. There is no effort to build community by design. Civil engineers are good at laying out roads, not designing communities. An architect could help immensely on the design and improving the quality of life for the inhabitants. Herds are a development tool to allow increased density by clustering of houses while creating usable open space for the community. This proposal does neither. Finding vacant land like this suitable for creating significant housing is exceedingly rare. In the best of worlds, you will ask the applicant to go back to the drawing board, work with an architect and the planning board, and come back with a better plan. Your vote to approve this project in its current form may allow creation of 20 units of affordable housing, but know also that your vote tonight is a vote against affordable housing for 10 or even 20 families, other families that our community desperately needs. Thank you.
Thank you. Terry Anderson.
Hi, this is actually Jim Anderson. Can you hear me?
Hello. Yes, we can. Just state your address for the record, please.
This is Jim Anderson on 15 Wyandotte Street. And a couple little comments. I'd like to say I appreciate going back down to 20 after our meeting we had in Housatonic last fall. And I am for the project as is Terry. Just a couple things. I would rather not have it be stretched out over many years as they were talking about in phases. So it'd be nice to get it done. And so we're not listening to construction for years to come. And the other comment is, I'm not sure about the whole lottery thing. I'm not sure how that works, but if they can if they're local folks and people that are working in Great Barrington and Housatonic can be on the top of the list, that would be my preference. And I guess that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. In the room.
No one's at the podium at the moment.
Okay, and let me look once again on line. So I'm going to close off the second round of public comments. And I give the board a chance to ask questions. I'd also ask the board, just to be fair, not to repeat things we already have asked, before we close the public hearing.
I got a few questions, Steve, if it's all right. So I just want to ask about and maybe I don't have the abbreviations right, but the RMI. And I know last time we were sitting here, we were discussing the 30 houses, and it was going to be, if I'm not mistaken, 20 houses were going to be 80% and 10 were going to be 100%. I was wondering what the breakdown would be now.
I can answer that, Eric. It'll be 14 at 80% or below, and 6 will be 100%. And as many of you are aware, with the land coming originally from the land trust, you cannot go over 100%. And the other factor to consider is the funding sources. There are not a lot of funding sources when you go above 80% AMI. So in order to make a project and affordable housing, making it affordable, you have to have outside resources to be able to support that gap of what it cost and whatnot. So we were really thoughtful about how we structured that to make sure we were going to be able to hit government grants and whatnot. So that's why there's that, the discrepancy of not being able to do all 100%. So we have to like make all the numbers work.
So that's how you got to the 14. I guess I know this is a different sort of project than some of the others that we have in Great Barrington, but so as we just heard, there'll be, you know, what we're all hoping for, right? Firemen, police officers, nurses, the whole nine moving into this establishment. I guess I know at a lot of other places, once you get in there, what happens if all of a sudden they go over that? Say person gets promoted or something like that, you got 2 people living in there, that doesn't change their living situation, does it? Or
what happens is with Habitat, it's at the time of application and acceptance is your benchmark of when your number is set. So if you were at 80% or 85% and you go up to 100% afterwards, it's still okay because we work with families for a long period of time. What we have seen is what you start at for income and what you end at because of financial education and coaching is often we do see an increase before the house is finally completed. So it's at time of application and acceptance. That's the mile marker. Okay. Now, if somebody were to win the lottery, we wouldn't expect them to still want to buy one of our homes. But we would be happy to take a donation.
Right. Okay, so yeah, that's really just my comments for right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Garfield?
I have questions.
Go ahead.
I'm a gentleman. Go right ahead.
I had a question for Carolyn, and I guess it's back kind of piggybacking on what Fred Clark mentioned. And he said that this is the project that they've always really wanted. And I guess he was commenting, you know, from the move from 30 back to 20. So I'm just wondering, from your perspective, Carolyn, when you envisioned this and knowing, you know, trying to integrate it into a neighborhood and, you know, getting that balance, which is so tricky, you know, that there's such a need, but at the same time, you have to be cognizant that there's a neighborhood there. So I'm just curious about your, you know, original vision, and is this a similar feeling that Fred Clark expressed?
Yes, absolutely. So part of the way that we operate is we do meet with the abutters, we meet with the community, we met with business owners. We met with a lot of folks to find out what was the need. We know that there's a housing crisis in Berkshire County, but this 7.25 acre lot is not going to solve that, but it is a good way of demonstrating how you can make a good project and also fit it into what is already existing. So when you look at the community of Housatonic, if you thought, okay, we'll throw in 60 units, it would change the whole nature of Housatonic. So we really wanted to show our first project as being a community building project. And I understand where Jonathan was coming from with building by design, but Habitat builds community through people. And the house design is not necessarily the way we do it. It's through all of the work that goes into working with people, having them work together, building their own homes together, making decisions together. We believe that that's what builds the community, is that fabric and that interaction together, as opposed to just, you know, making sure everybody's clumped together.
May I stand on that? Sorry, Lee, please finish. I'm sorry.
I was just saying that, you know, that was kind of the sense where I was, you know, listening to from, you know, the very first proposal to, you know, from the 20 to 30 back to 20, that it, you know, it's really building community through people, and, you know, to be respectful of, you know, coming in and changing the whole dynamic of a area. And we want this to be a success story. So what I'm hoping is that this will incentivize other landlords, you know, or landowners to come forward and say, hey, you know, this was a great success story. Look how they've worked and listened to the community, and I'd be willing to offer my land. So, you know, I am very cognizant of the need for affordable housing, and how we do have, you know, hundreds of families and households waiting to be, you know, offered the opportunity. But at the same time, it's building on this trust, and to answer, you know, to listen to what Michelle said, it's trust. So you want to build on the trust, and you have one success story and go to the other. So I know that there's that kind of balance. So I appreciate that.
And the only point I was hoping to expand upon that here is, you know, I will not sit here with a straight face and tell you, knowing what we heard at the last meeting, where we are today, are there certain things that we may have done differently? I'm sure there is. Yes, there is. I think what's a narrative that's not been put out there that I want the board to consider in terms of our good faith effort of trying to build trust. I could only imagine if we had gotten a special permit for 20 units, received the Mass Works grant, started building the road and the infrastructure, and then saw an amendment to the special permit to add 10 more houses, that what the lack or loss of trust would be at that point here. Our understanding with going with the 30 units, that gave the board as the opportunity to understand, one, what would 30 units look like on the property, and secondly, would have the opportunity to set conditions in terms of the phasing or what units are approved, or where we may have to come back to you, much like the planning board has with certain phases of subdivisions, whether it's releasing lots or allowing construction to proceed. So from our standpoint, it was our intention that by proposing the plan with 30 units, we were showing how the 30 units could work. And that's where that came from. It was not an intention to deceive or mislead here. It was more of an opportunity just to say, in light of feedback that we received, important feedback that we received, here's how we know we can make it work on this property. And I wanted to make sure that is conveyed, because that really has been our effort since we started our work on this a year and a half ago. Thank you.
Garfield, go ahead.
I think my first question was, I was concerned about the 6.5 year time frame, and is that going to change the monies and make things less viable for the people that are coming in? So that time frame seems kind of long. Is that the monies are going to work with that length of time? Well,
raising money to fill the gaps between the cost and the amount of sold always takes time. So that, and again, you can only get certain government grants in a different cycle. So that was part of the planning phase. And we also are hoping that construction costs might come down as we are getting a little bit longer into the project as well. Because as we all know, we've been at the height of construction costs for quite a while now. And we are hoping to see it settle down into the other way.
Well, and Carolyn, you're also limited in fact that, you know, we don't just have home buyers who can come in off the street and go to an open house, submit an application to a bank and close in 45 or 60 days. our homeowners, from the day they enter our program, they have to earn 400 hours of sweat equity. They have to take months and months of financial literacy courses. So just that process, even with a special permit this evening, we clear our 20-day appeal period, we start MassWorks. Carolyn has a long pipeline of applicants who need to qualify for the program and then fulfill all their obligations before they even qualify for a Habitat mortgage.
I have a couple more, just one other.
Oh, go ahead. Yes.
I think the 20 units is fine. As I said before, and Joe echoed me, 20 is better than none. I think I might have heard that from Mr. Rembo. And I think over density does not, and a PERD, this is the right thing to do, but I don't think density means you have to fall over everybody. Like that looked pretty tight to me with 20 homes, looked pretty good. This is also just a starting point. There could be time in down the road that maybe we can fit in maybe 10 more houses there and or somewhere else. But we can't lay all our eggs in this one place. This council is not going to solve the whole problem, but it is going to be something that I think we need. And 20 is better than none.
Anyone else from the select board?
Yeah, I guess I just want to make a few more comments on it. I think you know, it was 20, 30, 20. I see the more space, you know, as coming from a person that grew up where I could reach out my window and touch my neighbor's house, you know, so I feel good about it being affordable workforce housing, however we're putting it, and it being spaced out. I don't see the harm in there. I understand that people feel like you know, we're taking away 10 houses, but it was my understanding is that we started at 20, somewhere 30 became, and then without going back to community engagement, it being the whole town in general. So we ended up, like Fred said, and I agree with everything Fred said, that it's right where the project was supposed to be. It looks great. I'm excited for these this project starting to get underway. So
especially one other thing, I do think it is important that we did indeed listen to the people that are going to be surrounding that area. I don't think that's a problem. I don't think we're just listening to a few people. I said it before, if you've got 4 or 5 people speaking, it could be for 20, 30, 40, 50 people. We just have some people don't have the time, don't have the energy, don't have the I don't know, the stones that maybe to speak publicly to say something. So I think it's worth, and I appreciate the fact that we did involve the neighbors, because I think they needed to be involved. And we did start with 20, and that was what our goal was, and that's where it's going to be. So I am appreciative of that.
I have one other question.
Yeah, go right ahead.
So I know that we don't really want to go down the road of local preference for the reasons that you outlined before. Is there a way to have a preference for the workforce or anyone that's actually working in Great Barrington? So it's kind of a workaround that, you know, they might be coming from a different town, but they're actually working in Great Barrington. Is there any leeway or preference that we could kind of say, okay, if you're working in Great Barrington, you're an essential worker working, you know, wherever, that we could give them a preference? Because that's a huge need right now.
Well, the Habitat model is that people have to live and work in their community for 2 years to be a good applicant. So we just had a conversation with DHCD, and they affirmed that Habitat can have, because we work with people well before a project starts. So they're saying, yes, we already know you're going to have a pool of people that have already been working with you, but you must open it up for other people within Berkshire County to apply. So we already feel like just based on the inquiries and the people that are in the financial education classes right now for Grove Street and Great Barrington, we're going to be getting the exact people that you guys are hoping to get based on the pool that is already working towards Grove Street.
So are you saying you can put them to the top of the list?
You can't put them to the top of the list. Okay. There's going to be, they would have already applied and been in the financial education and in all of our other programming in advance. So I really don't think you're going to have a problem with who's coming in based on what we're already seeing for one unit at Grove Street, in Great Barrington. We have 14 people that are interested in the project, and many of them are exactly the people that you're talking about.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. We have a motion to close the public hearing.
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Roll call vote. Garfield.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
And aye. It's unanimous. So, Chris, can you take us through the criteria and findings?
Sure. Good evening, Chris Renbold, Assistant Town Manager, Planning Director. So as we typically do for the board, I try to reduce the application and the plans and things that you've heard to writing into a draft decision for your consideration. It's only a draft. You can do with it what you want, but I do want to call your attention to the various findings that the board has to go through and discuss and come to agreement on before you actually reach a decision on the permit. So the first ones are in section 8.5 of the zoning bylaw, and in the draft findings beginning on page 2, those requirements are italicized and a draft response is written there for your consideration. The key point is on page 3, which is section 8.5.10 decision. And there's 3 criteria in 8.5.10 for the decision. And there's a draft here for your consideration in terms of harmony with the master plan, meeting the purposes of the PERD, increasing the housing opportunities, clustering the site design, providing usable open space, and including a timeline of phasing that is reasonable. So you can go through all of those items that are italicized on page 2 and 3 if you'd like.
Yeah, please.
Purpose is on page 2, 8.5.1. You've heard some comments about the purpose of the PERD and this design relative thereto. There's a draft response for you here, talking about the clustered design compared to the underlying regulations and how the design here is reducing the overall road cost of a typical subdivision and creating common open space. And again, you can comment, add, delete, throw it out. Any comments?
I think what Chris needs, the proverbial 3-4 nods of the head saying yes, that we don't have to vote on each one, but at least nod, do something so that everyone says, yeah, we agree with that.
About that, yes.
I agree with the first one.
The next one is just the permitted uses. There's really nothing there. This is obviously single unit homes. They're permitted in a PERD development. That's sort of self-explanatory. 8.5.4 is about the allowable density in a PERD. First of all, there's a minimum number of units in a PERD of 10, maximum of 60. Obviously, it's at 20 units, as you've heard. This also discusses the land area that is available on the site per unit. There's a minimum of 3,300 square feet per unit according to the regulations. This site definitely has much more than that available. In fact, you've heard people saying the density should be more. It could be more, but the proposal in front of you is for 20. So there's more than enough land area to meet those 20, the requirement for those 20 units. And it does provide the required amount of open space per unit. At this count, it's about 8,100 square feet of open space per unit. A lot of that is grouped in that central green. And the plan you saw on screen tonight that Brent showed had all of the open space, even between the units colored in green, but there's also a large buffer area around the outside of the site.
Looks good.
Looks good.
Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
8.5.5 is requirements. A number of things listed here regarding parking heights, setbacks of this section and of the underlying zoning. So there's a requirement for a buffer area around the site, things like that. Distance of the units from the internal roadway, those sorts of things. Police chief and public works have verified that, that this will not cause issues as is required here. The appropriate utilities have verified that they have the capacities to serve the site. The PERD also requires financial guarantees, but I think it's probably reasonable to say that that's anticipating an applicant that is a private developer that relies on bank financing. This is in fact the town, and there's a large grant already in hand. So I think you don't need to require financial guarantees from yourselves to move this forward.
Makes sense.
Yeah, looks good.
There'll be no timeshares here. Common land, we've discussed a little bit. Attorney Goodman also commented on this, that this will be held in common by a homeowners or a condominium association. The open land is required to be maintained in open usable status. So there will have to be a condition put on any permit if you grant a permit that that open space is restricted and remains open space for the development. It can't be built on. So if for some reason 20 years down the road, everybody wanted to add 2, 5, 10 more units, that open space can't be touched.
Last part again.
That open space can't be touched. Everything would have to be revisited through a forum like this. But there would be a deed restriction on the parcel.
I got a question. I don't know if it pertains to this section or not, but just since it speaks to the homeowners association or condominium association, do the rules of that association get put on this permit, or is there a standard form, or how do as far as like what that entail? Is that everybody can have 5 sheds, 1 shed, lawn mowing, that sort of stuff?
The homeowners association will have to abide by the terms of this permit and the underlying regulations. It'll specify who's in charge or how people will pool their funds in the association to take care of the maintenance of the open space and things like that. And what can be built and where.
And that would be outside of this permit, I guess is what I'm asking.
Yes, it's outside of the permit, but I can imagine the document would say something like, this homeowners association or condos association is established, pursuant to the special permit issued by the Selectboard for this project.
So Chris, let me ask you a follow-up on that. At the last meeting, one of the applicants said that, for instance, the water filters, the cartridges would be under the, I think it's an HOA fee, so that we're sure people are able to actually afford it because it'll be part of their monthly fees. Does that get written into the special permit, or is that just assumed it's going to happen because it was said? How do we document that?
How would you like to document something like that? I mean, the overall housing costs are something that the applicant, that the developer Habitat for Humanity will have to consider when they're qualifying folks for the homes, and that's certainly a housing cost in this area that they would have to be taking into account. If you want to specify that in your conditions, you can. I'm not sure if there's a clear purpose for doing that.
Okay.
But open to
I don't feel like there's a need for it, but.
I mean, I think it should be noted somewhere in there that, you know, it's expected, filtration. I mean, I guess you hear a lot of people not knowing when they come in that filtration is needed in Housatonic. You know, we've heard of people moving into town and stuff like that. So I don't see it hurting. I'm not saying that it has to be a part of the fees or something, but I guess it should be definitely noted as an expected cost. But as I say it out loud, I guess I'm not too sure if it needs to be built into the special permit. I guess that is a debate, but.
Well, one thing the board could consider is, you know, reviewing the draft documents before they're finalized. Obviously, the housing trust, as the current owner and seller, will be very interested in seeing how that will be accomplished. It's something that you could all review. Town council could review for form. You could review for content. I don't think it would necessarily be a veto, you know, something that you could veto, but you know, you could have them come back with a draft, ask questions like this, make sure things like this are addressed.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
8.5.8 is about the procedures. A preliminary plan was developed and reviewed by the planning board on September 8th. It is noted that they reviewed a 30-unit plan, and the other procedures in terms of filing have been followed. 8.5.9 is about the special permit requirements. The last step in a current and a planned unit residential process after a permit, should you issue one tonight, is that the site then returns to the planning board with a definitive subdivision type of a plan in order to locate the lots and lay out the road in a way that is acceptable under the regulations. Then, as I mentioned, 8.5.10, the decision-making criteria for a PERD. I mentioned that at the top of the discussion. Any comments there? No.
No.
So, with all special permits, you're familiar with the 6 criteria of section 10.4.2. Each of these are also considered, and you make a finding on each before proceeding to a decision. The first is the social, economic, or community needs served by the proposal. The draft in front of you reads as follows: the select board finds the project as proposed will provide much needed housing that will be affordable at levels attainable for households who work in the area and wish to be able to live in Great Barrington. Deed restrictions will ensure the homes are affordable in perpetuity. Anything to add, delete?
That seems fun.
Everybody agree with that?
Yep.
Agreement.
The second is traffic flow and safety, including parking and loading. You've heard comments from the applicant, from the engineer, and there were statements in the application. You've also heard public comment on traffic flow and safety. The proposed finding is as follows. The select board finds the proposal has been designed to provide a safe roadway in and out of the project site with sufficient parking provided on site for homeowners as well as guests. The project will have no negative impact on traffic flow or safety.
Good.
Okay with that?
Yep.
Third is adequacy of utilities or other public services. And you've heard comments from the applicant's engineer as well as the public on this. The application cited town and the proposed finding is as follows. The application has cited town professional studies documenting the adequate supply of water in this portion of the Housatonic waterworks system. Sanitary sewer will be provided to the home and it will be constructed in accordance with the town's wastewater requirements. Selectboard finds that the proposed use will have no detrimental impact on the public water and public sewer system.
Yeah.
Steve?
Yeah, I'm thinking for a second. Give me just a second.
Sure. No reason to rush.
Now, the last step, my only concern is that the proposal will have no detrimental impact on the public water or public sewer systems. Public water, we don't have much control over. So what impact that has is I'm not sure we can say no. That's I mean, it's a small point, but I think it's important to the people who live there.
Yeah.
You heard from the applicant and in writing from Houstonic Waterworks that it won't have an impact on the capacity of the system. You may have concerns, or you may not be able to control the quality of the system. Is there a better way to state that?
Maybe if we just say public water supply or public sewer systems, because we know the supply is not a problem. Quality, I don't think we can say that it's not going to be a quality problem. I mean, I hope there's not. There's going to be a quality problem whether this is built or not.
Yeah, we can't necessarily state the delivery system as well as being unflawed. So I think I'm with Steve as far as we got to take that language out and adjust that language a bit.
Add the word supply. Oh, I think Steve said public waters. No detrimental impact on the supply of the public water.
Right.
Is that what you said, Steve?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'm thinking clearly at this time of night, but that seems like a good idea at the time.
Yeah.
So when you're saying supply, Steve, you mean the amount?
Yes, as opposed to the quality. No matter what the project is, with the problems right now, I don't think we can vouch that the quality is going to be good or stay the same or become different in the neighborhood. I just not sure we can do that.
The verification that was provided, I believe, was that the 20 homes, actually it was based on the 30 home model, that 30 homes would not have a detriment, would not, that the system can serve the 30 homes. I think that's.
I like that wording. That wording's fine. The system can serve it. That doesn't mean it's going to be a quality. That's my concern. And this isn't going to be a knock against Houstonic Water. I can do that at another time. It's just obvious that for any house in Houstonic, I'm not going to certify that they're never going to have dirty water. Not at this point in time.
Okay. Would you like to try the following? The select board finds that the Houstonic Waterworks has the capacity to serve the proposal, and the proposal will not have a detrimental impact on the public sewer system.
That works for me.
Works for me.
Works for me.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on utilities or public impacts? 4 is neighborhood character and social structures. The proposed finding is as follows. The select board finds the proposal supports and does not detract from character and social structures. The Affordable Housing Trust and its developer Habitat for Humanity has carefully planned the project, incorporating feedback from various meetings of the community and of town boards and town staff. The project proposes 20 home sites that will comply with all PURD setback requirements and seeks to construct homes of size and scale for which there is need and desire, and that are of a scale and design in keeping with the surrounding homes. Open space on site can provide space for community gatherings, gardens, play areas, and other areas to support and enhance the neighborhood.
I'm fine with that.
Criterion 5 is impacts on the natural environment. And the proposed finding is as follows. The select board finds there will be no significant negative impacts on the natural environment. Site is designed according to the natural topography to the extent possible, to avoid excessive earth disturbance and to maintain existing drainage patterns. Through the connection to the sanitary sewer system, there is no risk of contamination from or failure of private on-site septic systems. Stormwater management meeting the required storm volumes is provided, and the stormwater be slowed and percolated into the ground to recharge groundwater. New trees will be planted, providing habitat and a vegetated buffer around the site. The homes will be built to be solar ready if homeowners wish to install solar panels on rooftops.
Yep.
Anything we missed, should add, subtract, discuss?
I like it.
Yep, me too.
Okay. Is that okay, Arthur? 6 is potential fiscal impact, including impact on town services, tax base, and employment. And the finding proposed is as follows: the proposed project will have positive fiscal impacts for the town. 20 new households will be able to live in town while building equity in those homes and paying residential real estate taxes and utility service fees. The project provides a meaningful increase in the tax base and employment base of the town.
That's fine.
Right now.
So there are a few conditions noted in this discussion. One is that prior to the construction, a definitive plan shall be submitted to the planning board in accordance with those regulations. And we also discussed the condominium documents. So prior to construction, homeowner or condominium association documents that include provisions for long-term preservation and maintenance of the site's open space shall be provided for the town to review. And prior to homes getting a certificate of occupancy, those documents have to be recorded on deeds. I think that covers the thing we talked about earlier about the town having a review of those documents.
Yeah, I do too.
If those findings and conditions are acceptable to the board, Steve, you can proceed.
So let's start, Lee, with a motion on vote on the findings, if the board's comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Comfortable.
Yes.
I move to approve the findings of fact for special permit number 933-23 as written. As amended, excuse me, as amended and referenced as Exhibit A.
I'll second that.
Chris, do we have to state the amendment, or is that clear enough?
We just got the amendment had to do with the water supply capacity.
Right. That's.
I think it's clear.
Yeah, actually, quality, not capacity.
It states capacity specifically, so you're not talking about quality.
Good point.
Right.
Right.
I think that was...
Good point. So I have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Roll call vote. Garfield.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
And aye. It's unanimous. Do I have the next motion?
I move, in view of the approved findings of fact, to approve special permit number 933-23 for Great Barrington Affordable Housing Trust for a planned unit residential development of 20 new residential homes at 0 North Plain Road, map 26, lot 53A, in substantial conformance with the plans submitted in the following conditions. Number 1, prior to construction, a definitive plan will be submitted to the planning board in accordance with the subdivision regulations and the PERD requirements. Number 2, prior to construction, homeowner or condominium association documents that include provisions for the long-term preservations and maintenance of the site's open space shall be provided to the town for review. Prior to issuance of any certificate of occupancy, the documents shall be recorded.
Second that.
So I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call vote. Garfield.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
And aye. The special permit passes and is granted.
Thank you all for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much.
Okay. Under new business, do I have a motion to appoint Christopher Wiltshire and Devin Arnold to the Agricultural Commission?
I make a motion to approve, to appoint the approval of Christopher Wiltshire and Devin Arnold to the Agricultural Commission.
Second.
Welcome back, Ed.
Great.
Any discussion? Roll call vote. Garfield.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
Ed.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
And aye. It's unanimous. Thank you very much for volunteering. The next one is the open meeting law complaint and response. From talking to Mark and town council, this requires Lee and I to vote on this because it's a subcommittee who's responding. So Lee, if you would make the motion to approve the subcommittee minutes and the response of the open meeting law violation, and I will second it.
Okay. I make a motion to approve the minutes and the response of the open meeting law violation.
I will second it. Any discussion? Still a roll call vote, Lee?
Aye.
And aye. It's unanimous. Okay. Next. Citizen speak time.
Michelle Goubert, 70 Division Street. Just a couple of things. Just a couple of things regarding affordable housing. A couple of times during various meetings, whatever I hear, shows give priority to people for affordable housing who work in the regular market. I just want these, whatever town boards and committees, to be aware you have many long-term residents who don't work in Great Barrington. For example, my husband's worked in Westfield 12 years. I work for Lennox Public Schools, but we pay a lot of taxes to the town of Great Barrington, and there may be a need for housing later on down the line. So keep that in mind. Not everybody works on Main Street, Great Barrington, and I think we're starting to compartmentalize people in little trays here, going, this person gets this person gets that. And it's quite upsetting to me. Just keep an open mind on that because I'll be listening for it. My next question is, and I have missed a couple meetings because of ill health, is not tonight, it's too late, is status on Housatonic School. What is going on? That's an update. Also, it's been brought to my attention regarding another building, Ramsdell Library in Housatonic, that there's a viable grant for the building, the Massachusetts Public Library Construction Program, and a letter of intent has to be filed by April 28th on it. I have a copy of the grant parameters right here. I would just like to know the status on that, if not tonight, in the future. And is the town working with the library trustees on that?
We'll answer both of those at the next meeting, Michelle.
Yep, that's fine. Thanks, Dave.
You're welcome. Anyone else at the podium?
Yes, my name is Karen Johnson. I live on State Road, Great Barrington. It's been quite a long evening and quite an evening of looking in the past. I've been here since the early 70s and a past mayor since then. And my question concerns the Mason Library. I want to know whose idea was it to change the Mason Public Library town property into a courtyard or a plaza? Where was the need to change? Second question, how can a new town historic open site be changed without a town vote? Third question, who's paying for this? And when these, why wasn't a plan such as this brought forth in April 2007 when major renovation was done to the library? Anyway, those are my questions. I know it's late. I tried to condense these to these few points.
So Karen, we don't answer questions necessarily. Well, let me just tell you, the select board has not approved these plans, but there is a whole number of meetings that have occurred and articles in both the Edge and the Eagle about these plans. So this has not been approved yet. The select board had the final approval, and there is no taxpayers' money being used for this. This is private fundraising. So I would be glad to sit down with you or discuss it at another meeting, but I expect shortly that we will have that on one of our agendas.
Great. I do understand that it is not a budget question, that this is private money for a public piece of property, and I am concerned about the makeup of our town. We have an open space. It's the only town property on Main Street. So that's why I'm concerned. I want to watch out for it. There are things that have happened that maybe should have not happened or should have happened in a better way. But I would appreciate any help or foreseeing of this project.
Thank you, Karen. There's no one else online, and I don't see anyone at the podium. So let's move to select board time. Garfield.
And nothing, thank you.
Eric.
Besides, I'm hungry. I have nothing else to say.
Yeah, I'm past hungry. You're correct. Ed.
Yeah, I have a 45-minute speech prepared.
All right.
Nothing.
Next meeting.
Yeah.
Lee.
I think Garfield has some food in his pocket there from wrestling, so.
I do.
Nothing for me.
I do. No one's getting that.
And although I would really like to talk about the comment about we're too concerned about current homeowners and abutters, I will not do that tonight at this late hour, even though I'm a homeowner and think we should be somewhat concerned. Media time. I see no one, and by unanimous consent, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.